Hello, everyone, and welcome to Snap Take. This is Glazer of Snap Judgments, the official podcast of Marvel Snap Zone, and today's video is all about Sanctum Showdown. Marvel Snap's newest game mode was an absolute blast. We streamed it for like 5 hours last night and had a great time doing it. We found what we think are the 5 best decks. We're going to show my best deck. We're going to show the best decks by the stats. We've got a bunch of tips for you, a ton of stuff. So let's get started with the video with what you can find. So we're going to begin with tips for the new game mode. We have about 7 tips, and then we've got the 5-ish best decks for the mode so far. Before we get to that, though, I'm going to ask you to hit that sub button if you're willing. We're trying to hit 25,000 subs in 2025, and we need your help to get there. In return, we're going to do 7 days a week of Marvel Snap videos. We have a bunch of decks for this mode from the best players from yesterday. Tomorrow, we'll have 2 videos. We'll cover the OTA the instant it comes out, and we'll have a bunch of regular decks and Sanctum decks for you. Friday will be the top 10 decks in Marvel Snap right now if you want to try and climb. We give you the most consistent Marvel Snap content. All you have to do is hit that sub button, help us hit our goal of 25,000 subs, and in return, we will also be giving back to the community with a ton of giveaways. Right now, we're giving away our last Sam Wilson Captain America. All you have to do is sub, like, and then later this video, leave a comment. I'll tell you what that comment is, and you're entered to win Sam. Excuse me. Next week, we're going to be giving away 5. That's right, 5 copies of the new season pass card Agamotto. So make sure you sub and ring that bell so you don't miss out on your chance to win these free cards. All right, tip 1. This is from our friend Nick the Greek Geek. Are you retreating? There's no retreating in Sanctum. If you are retreating in Sanctum, please, even if you're going to lose, stop immediately. You get extra charms from winning locations. It doesn't matter if you win the game or not. Retreating loses the game, right? But if you're going to lose that game anyway, all retreating does is say you can't have the rest of those charms. Any extra locations you win are extra charms, and it really does add up over time. This is a mode where you should absolutely never retreat unless, like, you're gonna, I don't know, poop yourself or something, right? There is no retreating in Sanctum. Please just don't do it. This is a major PSA. Spread the word. Do not retreat. If your opponents are retreating, it's really frustrating. The way you gain extra levels, the way you gain extra cards, extra cosmetics, everything is through these charms that you get, the scrolls you get for winning. But if you retreat, you lost. Just like if you played the game out, you can and probably will end up getting more charms by staying in games. Make sure you're staying in. I cannot emphasize this enough. Next up, our tip 2. We had the great Lauren Devs of the Snap on This podcast and Marvel Snap Zone, even though she hasn't written an article in quite a bit. But the great Lauren Devs, you can find her brilliant insights all the time on the Snap on This podcast. We broke down, she broke down, and I'm sharing it with you, the acquisition method and then how much gold and conversion it is in order to get it. So your Sanctum portal pulls is 1,620 gold for a Series 4 card. Cool. That is a great deal. I don't know how else to put it. Like, it costs you 3,750 gold, i.e., well more than double, almost double and an extra third, in order to get enough tokens to get a Series 4 card. So this is just an incredible overlay as when compared to Token Tuesday. So, like, if you have the extra gold, using gold to make sure you get those portal pulls is great, but you should be able to get enough. We'll get to how you can do that later on. The Sanctum Unowned, and we'll talk more about that later. Again, that is 3,000 gold for a pull of those. Yes, you risk getting a Series 4 card, but 3,000 gold for that is still 750 gold, 720 gold-ish, less than you would be spending on a Series 4 card if you were using Token Tuesdays, which is the going rate, in order to get it. This is, again, absolutely huge. The tokens for Series 4 and Series 5 cards are through the roof. Like, how much gold you would have to spend to get them are through the roof. You're spending like $100, 7,500 gold for enough tokens to buy a Series 5 card, or you can just pull one from this mode at less than half price. Again, this is absolutely incredible. This is a great deal. I'm sure they know they're giving us this great deal, but they sort of obfuscate it, right? They hide it behind all the different layers of stuff to do in the game and the grind. But with this grind, this is about as well. This isn't about. This is by far the best deal they've given us outside of just the damn season pass. One key, a single key, is only 2,834 gold. That is still over 1,000 gold more than a Sanctum Portal pull, but it is a little bit less than the unowned Series 4 or 5. However, that key risks the chance of the duplicate or the 2,000 tokens, or and you're getting a better deal than that from, again, this. Meanwhile, though, if you're aiming, it takes on average 2.5 keys to end up getting the card you want. If you're opening in spotlights, and that's again 7,000 gold. This is an incredible deal. People are going to tell you it's not. They're wrong. This is the math. The math is in front of you. This is absolutely huge. Seriously, please make sure that you're trying to take advantage of this if you are not collection complete and you are trying to really, really improve your collection. All right, some non-image tips. These are the ones I'm just going to talk about. First, people are confused about priority. I kept seeing people that weren't sure how you gained priority, i.e., whose cards would reveal and take action first. So, prio is whoever has more charms in that game at that time. So, it's at first random, right? Turn one is random unless one of you has Sam Wilson and one doesn't, and that Sam Wilson thing, it just happens to end up getting the, um, well, unless someone gets the immediate first, right? So, turn one, um, prio is by whoever, well, whatever, the whole game. Prio is by whoever has more charms. You want to go first fairly often in this mode, except for two very key cards, Cannonball and Stegron. Cannonball basically always wants to be played second. Stegron often, but not always, wants to be played second. It's very important to know that. You might want to play Stegron first sometimes. If your opponent already has a big card there and there's only one big card there, you might want to knock it out before they can put some other cards there. That's fine. But Cannonball is the other big card that you really want to play second, which means early in the game you want priority. In particular, priority matters for one of the best cards in the mode, Negasonic Teenage Warhead. You want to pay a ton of attention to Negasonic, especially whenever your opponent has priority. Make sure that you're keeping an eye out for when they could drop a Negasonic Teenage Warhead and wreck you. That also means that you have to pay attention to what order you play your cards. So let's say you have a Nebula and a Rocket Raccoon that you're going to play on turn 4. In the Sanctum location. They have priority. If they drop Negasonic, it is much, much better for you if you play that Nebula first and then you play that Rocket. So please do keep that in mind. I used those cards as an example because the Guardians are absolutely amazing. When we get to decks, we're going to talk about them. Guardians are above rate, right? Their stats are above rate, and the penalty for having to play these, for getting these above rate stats is that you have to predict locations. Well, Sanctum predicts the location for you. It tells you this location is going to get +4 charms, right? So if this location can get +4 charms, both you and the opponent are going to play there. At that point, you really want to drop a Guardian there, and your Guardian there, like, let's just say you get a 1/5, right? From Rocket Raccoon. That's better than the otherwise best one drop of Hydra Bob, who would be a 1/4. Then you can play a Star Lord on turn 2. That's a 2/6. Again, the best you're going to get from a 2 generically without any extra shenanigans is about a 2/5. So your just Guardians are absolutely incredible. Keep them in mind, especially if you are a budget player. Getting clogged here is real. You can overcommit to try and win your Sanctum location early on. So be careful. That also be careful because if they are filled and opponents are running a lot of mover cards, right, like Cannonball, Stegron, Plier, stuff like that, if you are clogged in that way, you can end up you can win that location that turn and then be stuck there the rest of the game as the opponent's able to go over the top of you. It's a real serious problem. It's one of the reasons that Sam Wilson, if you saw yesterday's video, was in so many of our sample decks. It also means that other cards that move or move other cards are extremely important. Ghost Spider, Doctor Strange, Rocket and Groot, Jeff are in an absolute ton of decks, so you want to keep an eye out for this type of card. If you're close at a location, snap. Please make sure you're snapping if you're pretty sure you're going to win if you have a powerful play. Rocket and Groot should almost always only be played if you have priority, for example. Same thing for Negasonic Teenage Warhead. But if you're going to play them on the Sanctum location with priority, you should snap. Versus if your opponent, if you think you have a reasonable shot, right, at winning that Sanctum location, but your opponent has priority, they could play the Rocket and Groot or Negasonic or other powerful card, and then you don't want to snap. So that's how you determine when to snap in the early game. Remember, you can snap every turn from turn 3 on. But also at the end of the game, once the game is going to be over and you recognize that, snap as much as possible. Either you're going to win and get extra scrolls that way, sorry, extra charms that way, or you're going to lose and you've helped someone out and at no cost to yourself. It's you're just putting extra charms into the economy, and that's really, really great and really helps people. Finally, I have one more big reminder. Do not open any of the unowned Series 4 or 5 pulls until next week on Tuesday. When the patch comes out, the series drop will take effect unless you have every card dropping from Series 4 to Series 3. Do not open until next Wednesday. Save your charms. You can spend them then. They're not going to expire. They're not going to go bad. They're not going to reset. Nothing bad is going to happen to your charms as you wait. All it does is guarantee that you don't pull a card that you would otherwise get for free when it falls to Series 3. Before we go any further, I'm going to ask you to make sure to check out a stream later today around something like 3:30 p.m. Eastern. I'll be live on Twitch. Please check it out. Now, you should hopefully you enjoy checking out my Twitch streams, but even if you don't, the Twitch drops right now. Like I'll be on YouTube too, but the Twitch drops right now are scrolls. You get a bunch of extra scrolls, which are the way you play the game, and you get a bunch of extra charms, which can help you buy stuff. Getting that kind of stuff for free is amazing. Make sure you're claiming them. If you just complete, if you with a 50% win rate, get those Twitch drops and complete the mode playing every day, you will be able to pull all of at least the Series 3, the new Series 4 cards, which is a great deal. That's 3 free cards completely without any extra shenanigans, but you got to be watching on Twitch to guarantee that without having to spend extra gold. My season pass question, if you'd like to win that season pass, is very simply, what are your impressions of this new mode? What do you think of it, friends? All right. First, this was my best deck. I had a 78% win rate in 15 games with it. This felt incredibly strong and incredibly fun. This is fundamentally a Guardians deck. I took our friend Scott Denham of SnapFan's deck, and I was able to modify it with a couple cards that I preferred, and then I had great success with this on stream. This list felt incredibly strong and incredibly consistent. It had a lot of powerful things to do, both early game and late game. So you can find me at twitch.tv/PaulsGlazer. And again, 78% in 15 games. This deck needs nothing. There's no high series card it really needs. If you don't have Nebula, you can run Hydra Bob or Iceman. Ghost Spider can be Nightcrawler. Ghost Spider is better, but Nightcrawler is fine. You just want to basically, you're using Ghost Spider to mostly not be clogged. You can do the same thing with Nightcrawler. Iron Patriot and Sam Wilson can be Medusa, Mirage, or Jeff. Very simply here, Medusa, Mirage, and Jeff are all very good twos. Sam has a lot of value, especially in this deck. Just being able to move that shield is very strong, but it's not required. Although, again, if you're ever going to buy a season pass, now's a really great time because Sam is going to be in all these decks. Cannonball can be Gamora. Gamora is really good here. Sam is better than Gamora, but Gamora is about, again, like a Guardian as the biggest 5 you can get. And Rocket Groot and Makari can be Gladiator, Copycat, Stegron, so on. If you don't have Makari and you do have movers, if you want to run like Hydra Bob and you're running and you have Sam Wilson and you're running Ghost Spider and you have Rocket Groot, then Miles Morales is also a really great Makari replacement. Makari is a free 4 power. Miles is a 1/6. It ends up being relatively close overall. Our next deck, this one had a 61% win rate in 230 games. We're going to build to the best of these decks, to the best stats of these. Cool. So we started with my favorite, but the next is the Scream list. This is almost exactly the list we showed you yesterday, but had this list with one card different. He had an extra top end card instead of either Nebula or Hydra Bob, I forget which. And then outside of that, that deck has been absolutely crushing. 61% in 230 is an awful lot. Remember that you can basically get everything if you've got a 50% win rate. So getting anything into the 60s is huge. And most of the decks we're going to look at today are in the 60% range. This deck only really needs Scream. If you don't have Scream, you can't really play the Scream list. Duh. Hydra Bob and Nebula can be Nightcrawler or Rocket Raccoon. I really like Rocket in this mode, y'all. Nebula is very good, and reminder that Nebula is series dropping, so if you wait the week and you don't have Nebula now, you can play it later. Sam Wilson can beat Jeff or Angela. Again, Sam is hard to replace, but Jeff is a really good replacement if you're one of those players who got Jeff, because so many people have Jeff. But you do, Angela is also okay because you're moving things on and off, and she does get reasonably big. Rocket Groot can be Negasonic, Teenage Warhead, or Nocturne. Very simply. Negasonic's not in this version of the list. Negasonic's amazing in this mode, so you can run Negasonic. And Cannonball can be Arrow or Vision. Vision, a movable 8 power, is very good since you're trying to compete at that extra powerful Sanctum lane all the time. And then Arrow's not great, but she is keyword big, and keyword big is good. You can also obviously try Gamora here too. This list is very strong. Scream has been one of the best cards and decks in the game. I would not be shocked if Scream was nerfed on Thursday, tomorrow. So just keep that in mind as we play this, but I think that this is one of the best things to play in the mode. You feel very, very strong as you're doing everything that this deck can offer. Next up, we have the small sample size best, but this one was so cool I had to show it. This is a 69% win rate in 51 games. This one looks kind of like our friend Cougar's list. This is very similar to the Cougar list that is one of the top win rate decks in the game. I did not expect this to work in Sanctum because it just doesn't have the early game, but it turns out it's just got enough power, so it doesn't matter. 69% win rate in 51 games is pretty legit. You can get a really cheap Abomination early because people are playing a lot of cards in this mode, which means if you Hazmat, you've really, really disrupted their board, and then you've got that free Abomination. Thing plays as a 4/9, which is really nice. Again, not super important here. You're running Evolutionary for the Abomination. The Thing is just sort of extra goodies and not important, but hey, whatever. Man Thing is incredible. I played my Affliction list a lot in this mode, and I absolutely destroyed with Man Thing. There's so much small stuff. Man Thing is an absolute lane winner and crusher. And meanwhile, and Ajax is just keyword freaking humongous because there's again very little Luke Cage. Again, 69% win rate, nice in 51 games. This deck needs Zabu, Man-Thing, and High Evo. Those three cards are the non-negotiables for the list. You'll note that there is no Ajax there. Ajax is nice because he's big, but there's plenty of big stuff. Sam can be Aryan Patriot or Scorpion. Nebula can be Silver Sable or Iceman. Cassandra, Red Guardian, Rocket Groot, Negasonic, Gladiator, Copycat, Luke. I don't really like Cassandra here, I'm going to be honest. You can also, if you got Diamondback, this is a really good place to try Diamondback. Ajax can be Cannonball or Gamora. Now, we had a very similar list to the best list in the Scream list that Butt created. That, well, we got another list right in yesterday's video from top players. The Safety Blade Lauren Whatevs list is one of the best win rate decks in a really, really high sample. This list basically says, hold your movers, right? And then you can use your vulture gets so big your opponent just can't compete. Your human torch gets so big that your opponent just can't compete. And if you can like get Madam Web into the right lane or whatever else, you just keep doing it. Doctor Strange is utterly amazing here. You end up with like a 30 power vulture in a lane. You just won that lane, right? But you also have the mid-range power for this list, which is very, very nice, of Rocket and Groot, Call Obsidian, and Cannonball. So you end up with like the best of both worlds. You've got like the three good cards, and then you've got the ability to go over the top of everything if the game goes any longer. So this is very cool. This has a 68% win rate in 130 games. Again, that is 80 more games than the last deck and a 1% worse win rate. This is an amazing list. Like, go play it. People are crushing with it. You will crush with it if you're any good with move. You do need two cards, though. You need Madam Web and Aranya for this. If you don't have Sam Wilson, Cloak and Craven are perfectly freaking fine here. Rocket Groot can be Nocturne, Gladiator, or Negasonic. I'd probably start with Negasonic, to be honest. Call Obsidian can be Stegron. Stegron is very good here. And then Cannonball can be Gamora. Next up, we have the best list. I know this says 70% winner in 70 games, but there's also a 600 game version of this that's basically a card difference. Instead of Copycat, it's running Negasonic, and that one has a 66% win rate. This is right now the very best list. It's sort of a Guardians good stuff. It's not going nearly as all in on Guardians as the one I had all that success with, but it's got like all these extra little tricks. And I want to take a moment and go through the cards, right? So turn one, Sanctum location pops up. Sorry, and that's worth 1 point. You can play Rock and Groot there. If they play there, you now played something big enough that goes over the top. And if not, you've got Hydra Bob for that. And if you miss, it's either that sorry, not Iron Patriot. It's either that Captain America Shield location or it's not, and then that's fine. Star-Lord is the biggest two. It's just big stats. Rocket is the biggest one. You now have access to the biggest 1 and 2 in the game. Star-Lord as a 2/6 will compete with many 3s. Iron Patriot has this amazing ability in that in turn 2 you played in the sanctum location, and it either gets you 1 point or it doesn't. But then your opponent has to choose to either play on that Iron Patriot again, or if they don't play on that Iron Patriot, right, you win that location and you get a cheap, super powerful card. That's game winning for this mode. Okay, Bishop has two really, really well, she's got several useful abilities, right? She's just a 2 drop. 2 drops are good. Acid Arrow Clog is overpowered. That's why every Clog card that's not Kate Bishop is banned. That's obviously super strong, right? The other thing Kate Bishop has that's really going for is the Grapple Arrow. Grapple Arrow is a way to move things uh, in and out of lanes, as a way to like make sure that you have enough power, as a way to make sure that you don't get clogged, is extremely strong. The other arrows are fine, but they're not like the goal here. Sam Wilson's really good. He's just stats and gives you that one at the start of the game. That one also allows you to run a 410 for free. Sam Wilson and Call Obsidian are an incredible combo of cards. Basically, when you have Sam Wilson and Call Obsidian, that the shield lets you play Call on it. Rocket and Groot is the best priority 3, and again, you have plenty of early game to make sure that you have priority. If you can play Rocket and Groot in a lane, you can play it and get it reasonably big fairly early by playing the Sanctum lane, and then you can move it to another location where it can continue to get big in another Sanctum lane. Again, knowing where people are going to play stuff with Rocket and Groot is insanely strong. Makari gives you early priority and early ways to win lanes. It gives you an early threat for free for costing 0. Copycat, again, I think Copycat might just be better. As Negasonic, the larger sample has it, but everyone's running sort of a lot of the same cards in most of these builds, and Copycat saying, I've got a 3-5 version of Star-Lord, right? Now you've got a 3-9, for example. Stuff like that is obviously extremely strong, and thus Copycat makes a lot of sense. Copycat is also a really good replacement if you're missing others of the key cards like Makari. Gladiator is the biggest 3. As a general rule, the biggest 3 on 3, and you're just obviously running big things. Rock is the biggest 1. Hydra Bob is the second biggest 1. Star-Lord's the biggest 2. Gladiator's the biggest 3, and that's basically the gist of how you handle this. From there, we have Cannonball, and again, if you don't have Prio, Cannonball basically guarantees you a win on a lane most of the time. Not always, but most of the time. And when you get that Cannonball win, woo-wee, the game is awfully over. All right, so 70% in 70 games with Negasonic and for Copycat a 66% win rate in 660 games. This has been the best deck on day 1. This deck doesn't need anything specific, right? You can like run it without basically any 1 or 2 cards, but you do want some of this stuff. Hydra Bob, for example, can be Nightcrawler or Nebula. Iron Patriot, Kate, and Sam can be Medusa, Mirage, and Jeff. Rocket and Groot, Gladiator, Copycat, Negasonic, Cassandra, and whatever the best 3s you have are. Makari can be Miles, although at that point, make sure you're running at least a couple of extra move cards. Cannonball can be Gamora, and Cull can be Stegron. That's it. That's the best list. We're going to do some questions of the day and be out. If you'd like to see some gameplay for these lists, also please check out the stream team if you are not available at like 3:30 p.m. Eastern, because I know that's part of the workday for a lot of people. Make sure you check out our friend Game with Flash X sometime between 9 and 10 p.m. Eastern tonight. Questions of the day. Synth asked my favorite concert ever. And so I think my favorite was Pearl Jam. I absolutely adored seeing Pearl Jam. I think they were the best like band I ever saw live. They absolutely killed it. I saw that on MSG. It was utterly amazing. Um, I went to Rock the Bells one year, and it was an amazing experience, even if the concert itself was like hit or miss. Like Lauryn Hill basically barely showed up. Nas was super late, but like Black Star was amazing. Um, so were just a ton of other people. What else? I've seen Cake like 3 or 4 times. Cake is one of my favorite live experiences. It's always a really personal show. It's always a great time. So yeah, those are my favorite live band experiences. And back to Marvel Snap, Jedi Cowboy asked what the consensus is on the Portal cards. And I'm gonna be honest, the consensus is hard to come by right now because everyone's just playing the mode, and the mode is sort of different. So Luffy is the card that everyone's convinced is good. I played it a little bit. It felt really strong. Not amazing in this mode in Sanctum, but very strong on ladder, very strong in conquest. I think that Luffy is going to be a good card, although it finding its home and finding its exact placement is going to be a little weird. We're going to have to rebuild and work with that deck a little bit. A few people tried out Ben. Um, Ben Parker. I lost his last name for a second like a fool. So a few people tried out Ben Parker. No one was super impressed yet, but I don't think people are really playing it in the right spot. This is a Scream deck card. You run it as your 1 in Scream decks, and then you can run Killmonger, and Killmonger is very strong right now. That again, that might be a Sanctum thing. It might not, but that is going to be something that I'll be messing with if you want to check out a stream. and no one has played Gorgon yet. I think I saw Super Tech God play it once and it did nothing. Gorgon is kind of a nothing of a card. It's a tech card for when the meta becomes overrun with Thanos or Arishem, and it's not overrun with Thanos or Arishem right now, so we don't really need it. Certainty of support on our Patreon come with on there. Thanks. If you're interested in checking out our Patreon, please check out patreon.com/snapjudgments. We have all sorts of goodies there. I'd like to say first thank you to Ocularis, our patron of the month, then Abigail Giesland, Manager Burnout, Irregardless, LAB, Inc., I Am Frostman, Hota Navarrete, Thinking Poker, Prime Ryan of the Prime Mind podcast. Of the Prime Mind app. Please check him out. He's sponsoring our Snap Justice League. Ryan Burke, Ryan Wood, Kertix Lee, Koire, Kazushi, Archangel 3K, Black Dahlia, Perafrost, The Goat Seeker, Hollowed, Nightmare, Only Fox, Synth, hey, we got a question, Fat Nick, Dirty, Casual, Mr. Kerfuffle, Cables, Ginger Prime, Philip Rakovich, Haplo, Kenny Loggins of the Danger Zone, The Beza, Black Jeebus 23, Extra C and Skippy G, Jessica Gamble, Sloosh Death, King of Bros, Brup, The Great Kazoo, Werewolf, Kev C. Hoda, Luna Chris, Clam, Colonel Forbin, Rob Silverman, M. Holland, David G. Wingfield, Stephen, Brian Kaufman, Justin H. Martin, Jason B., Mr. Craig Sterry, Matt V., Ren Wrench, Corbin, Chunk U, and Jim McHugh, Cube Down, Yes Stout, Eighth Sage, One Big Man, Milkman for Reals, BG, Quid Pro Joe, Snap Decisions. So check out his podcast, y'all. Monster Supreme Models, The Green Goblin, Unibot, Flan 56, The Fuzzy Spectrumix, Who Absolute Shannon, who will be the patron of the month for March. Matt H, DJ, Mikey Hijinks, what's up, my friend? No Frickin' Flex, Nick the Greek Geek, who made that great meme earlier. Check him out. He's streaming again. Go make sure you follow him, please. Zodrex, the King of Canada, Den Man Falcon, Fafthorn Newman, who went to sleep super late. Hopefully you're feeling well, Newman. Jonesy, check out the triple threat on YouTube, y'all. Two Ties, the great Lauren Ebbs of the Snap on This podcast, and one of the best decks in the mode, and all the data that we got about the math. Our friend, the Pirate King Tucker, who's back on Snap, baby. And of course, Gunny T, who climbed all the way from 20 into the 90s and is about to hit infinite. Props to Gunny. Tomorrow we will have 2 videos for you, guaranteed. One will be about the OTA, and one will be a bunch of decks. We will cover both Sanctum and regular Marvel Snap decks in tomorrow's main video, so make sure you're here for that. And then Friday will be the top 10 decks in Marvel Snap. Don't forget to check out the streams, and I'll see you for all that wonderful content. Peace.